All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ben So, Managing Director of STACS. Welcome to our STACS Showcase as part of the Singapore FinTech Festival. We are delighted to be co-hosting this panel with the Monetary Authority of Singapore and the Project Ubin team. Thank you very much, Project Ubin team, for having us here in the Ubin channel. And of course, thank you everyone joining this session. We have a very exciting session lined up today. For this morning's session, we are indeed honored to have global leaders from the financial industry joining us. It is indeed a very powerful lineup, so I am really looking forward to it. Let me invite our guest speakers who will make a quick self-introduction of themselves. Firstly, dialing all London, we have Mr. Armin Peter, Managing Director, Global Head of Syndicate and Head of Sustainable Banking EMEA, UBS Bank. Armin?
Yes, good morning from London, and thank you, Ben. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to discuss with you why I believe actually blockchain technology is a huge opportunity for the development of sustainable finance markets. The global bond market certainly has been the place where we see the development being mirrored. Green bonds, social bonds, sustainability-linked bonds. And I really believe both topics of sustainability and DLT blockchain goes well with each other.
Thank you, Armin. Looking forward to it. Next up, in Singapore, we have Mr. Chan Boon Hyung, Global Head, Securities Market and Technology Advocacy, Securities Services, Deutsche Bank. Boon?
Thank you very much, Ben, and good morning to everybody. We'd also like to thank MAS, the Ubin team, and STACS for this opportunity to contribute and share our views in this really, really exciting and dynamic space. For Deutsche Bank, ESG, financial inclusion, and technology are some of our big focus that we see as driving the industry forward and in creating new values for clients and for markets. In security services, where I am based in, here in Singapore as well, we have been working on other areas too, like AI, on APIs, as well as on digital assets and DLT. So we are really delighted and honored to be here in this panel and to be able to join this very distinguished speakers here too. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Boon. And from Manila, we have Ms. Catherine Casas, First Vice President, Blockchain Center of Excellence Head, FinTech Group, Union Bank of the Philippines. Kathy?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Ben. It's been like a pleasure working with you and your team, and I'm excited to see the fruition of what we are building together. Of course, together with my co-panelists here, Boon and Armin. As some of you may already know, we have Union Bank has taken a big leap to future-proof itself. We've embarked on a digital transformation journey ahead of our peers, fully embracing what the word digital represents, embracing it to our core, front to back, from tech to people, to ensure that we continue to remain relevant to our customers. And it's just a relief to see that we are now starting to reap the fruits of this, especially during the unexpected twist brought about by the pandemic to all of us. So we found ourselves digitally ready for this accelerated, no-touch, social distancing digital world, essentially allowing us to extend a helping hand to Filipinos through providing them with their financial transactional needs amidst the lockdowns, and support government units also provide relief digitally and remotely, even during the most difficult parts of this year. So while we take pride in all our digital products that are enabled by the current infrastructure, we of course want to take it a notch further by immersing ourselves and actively taking part in designing and building the infrastructure of the future, of which we are seeing distributed ledger technology and blockchain to be a foundational building block. So I myself am personally heavily invested in this session's topic, as prior to my move to the FinTech Group, I was with the Union Bank's Treasury Group, where I've headed the foreign currency emerging market bonds trading desk. So it's pretty exciting to have been given the opportunity of a lifetime, I guess, to take part in designing this next generation capital market infrastructure.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you. So now we can enter the panel discussion proper. Today's topic is infrastructure rails to empower capital markets connectivity and sustainability. So at STACS, as a company, we echo this vision too. We have been building our own DLT-based technology to support infrastructure rails for the capital markets. We were also very fortunate last year to be invited to take part in the Singapore FinTech Festival last year, where we showcased a live integration between our STACS blockchain and the Ubin Payments Network. So of course, this year we have continued further with designing further use cases and case studies around this technology and integration. And I've been very fortunate over the last few weeks, especially to have spent more time with the three of you, okay, to be able to learn from you as we started to have more interactions and sharing of ideas and perspectives. So of course, all three of our guest speakers today, they are highly experienced and are leaders of their space globally. I'm sure there's a lot of knowledge for them. I will now invite each of them to share more on their experiences and views towards DLT as an infrastructure rail to empower capital markets. So let's start with Boon. Boon, you have many years of experience in technology advocacy in the securities capital markets space. What can you share with us on your views towards DLT as infrastructure rails to empower capital markets connectivity?
Ben, thank you very much, and thank you again for this opportunity. Over here in security services, one of the key goals that our management and for my small team, right, is actually to look at the gaps between the DLT and application. So we have been spending a lot of time focused on what we are calling, right, the gap to commercialization or proof of commercialization. And in this 7 minutes, I'd like to highlight, how DLT infrastructure in the digital asset space can influence issuer and investor choice and the speed of adoption in the digital asset space. I will focus on the two attributes, connectivity and flexibility. So, given we are still in the early morning and it's really, really early okay, right, let me start with a light example first of all, right? So let's imagine that, we have actually traveled to a new place. And, in this new place, we are settled into a really great 6-star hotel with spa, with restaurant, swimming pool, with overlooking great views, right? However, for us to travel to each of the tourist attractions, we are faced with either to brave 3 hours traffic, single direction, or 100 kilometers distance travel, right? And there's no road to link the attractions together. So it's like 3 hours or, 100 kilometers. So for the next day, after we're settled in and for the rest of our trip, right, this physical infrastructure has actually created a potential choice for us, a potential choice menu. Do we stay in the hotel the whole time? Do we start prioritizing which attraction to go to? Do we see all the attractions? I think after 1 or 2 days, a number of us will say, actually, you know what, staying in a hotel could be another great attraction as well. So, this is an example of how infrastructure can actually start creating menu. Let us now, take a look into the digital asset or STO, the securities token offering space, right? There are many really great and innovative DLT platforms in the industry. They offer end-to-end issuer to investor services from primary to secondary market to maturity stage, right? And each of these platforms will have their own products and liquidity, i.e., right, their own pool of buyers, their own pool of sellers, and their own products that they then try to attract, right, the issuers and investors. At this stage, this early stage of the digital asset development, however, right, there is actually a big risk of a chicken and egg situation, of a narrow product range of products in each of the venue, and of a small pool of investors in each of the venue as well that may not attract issuers of products. So in the end, what you get is actually a potential fragmentation or small pool of liquidity across the industry. So as an issuer and investor stand, right, this creates actually a choice for me too. So, if I issue a product in a venue, will there be enough buyers or investors? If I am a buyer in the secondary market, will there, is the spread going to be really big? How is the liquidity like? Should I be actually members of a single venue or of multiple venues? But because they operate on a direct membership basis, I'll be directly exposed to each of the different terms and conditions. So, I have different risks, different liabilities, different compliance, and potentially as well, different operational risks too. Oh, in the earlier example, Do I stay in the hotel? And just wait and see to see, you know, which venue becomes more popular and which venue has got the greater liquidity. But this wait and see attitude then really means that, you know, there will be a slower adoption of digital asset. Of course, you can say that, you know, the platforms can create their own assets, but this can meet then with other considerations like regulatory considerations. Who will be the issuer? Who is going to be accountable? Who and what are the liabilities as well? Digital connectivity, infrastructure connectivity could potentially reduce this chicken and egg situation, this challenge of participation and adoption. How? By perhaps increasing the pool of buyers and sellers that could actually come together, by linking the venues together, interoperable, or by allowing the products to be hosted and traded in different venues across border potentially. Or perhaps the ecosystem requires now a new intermediary model, maybe like a multi-plug model that takes out this complexity for issuers and investors to participate in these different venues. So what we're saying is this: DLT infrastructure is really important. And one of the importance is actually right in this connectivity. And in this stage of industry development at this time, it is actually connecting liquidity and products. So we look at, you know, connecting liquidity and products. Let's now move into this second attribute of flexibility. Let's assume right now that, okay, I'm the issuer, I'm the investor, and then right now I would like to actually issue something or buy something. In a digital asset, there's always a cash element in order for the transaction to meet. I sell, you pay. You sell, I pay. The flexibility of payment mechanism that can effectively integrate with digital assets becomes really important as well. And this is the second point that I'd like to share. So for example, what are the different digital cash mechanisms? A central bank, a commercial bank issued stablecoin regulated as the e-money may not be able to settle high value transaction, 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, that institutional buyers would transact in, but it is very suitable for retail payment. For example, in Philippines, like how Cathy's Union Bank of Philippines have intermediated in, you know, a very leading edge use of DLT in the Philippines digital bond settlement using their stable coin. Central bank digital currency like UBIN, Singapore's central bank initiative, would be great for high value transaction because it offers great certainty and reduces significant counterparty risks. Additionally, with UBIN, you know, it creates the potential which we need to investigate further. If US dollar could also be used for settlement, and if so, can this actually remove and minimize some of the angst of time zone difference between Asia and US when it comes to US dollar movements? And of course, we have to talk about SWIFT. SWIFT integration as well. SWIFT is the financial industry's standard for payments and for transactions, and how would then integrate and meet digital assets. So all these are flexibilities that is required in order to fit the different investors' requirement participation in this venue. This then actually can encourage greater participation, greater adoption. So let me summarize this 7 minutes or so. I've taken a liberal interpretation of infrastructure and highlighted on the connectivity in order to link buyers and sellers, liquidity, in order to link products, in order to create more attractiveness and more interest. There's also this need for flexibility and choice of interoperability as well, of payment mechanism, so that can fit the different segments of investors. And finally, with the attributes of DLT, transparency, cost-effective precision, immutability, it can actually then create and lead to the creation of really exciting applications, of really exciting use cases. I'd like to right now turn over to my panelists, to Ben, to Armin, and to Cathy, who will be sharing with us what are some of these really exciting examples of new value creation. Thank you very much. Ben, back to you.
Thanks, Boon. Thanks, Boon. I will make sure I remember you every time I'm in the hotel next time. That was a very great analogy. And okay, so over to Armin. Armin, you are very interested in the area of ESG and sustainable banking. Do you think there's an intersection between DLT as an infrastructure and ESG?
Thanks, Ben, and certainly I do believe. I think technology always has been the first to show its potential. Proven its potential as well in the space of DLT and blockchain. For example, UBS, we already tested back in 2015 the technology with our smart bond product. But it's certainly true as well that in the last 18 to 24 months, we've seen a lot of test cases and proof of concepts coming through. Just thinking about the World Bank's iBond, which was launched in August 2018. The corporate world, I think Siemens it was, which used the blockchain technology in the money market in February 2019. And then Asia launched its first commercial paper, I think it was Yes Bank, in July 2019, something which then the EIB has taken over here in Europe. And financial institutions, certainly like ourselves, have tested the proof case in the covered bond market, Schuldschein. We even seen the first green bond, structured green bond that was back in February 2019. So technology always has shown its potential first. I think the challenge has always been then how to integrate it actually into real-time life. I think we are now moving into the next phase. We are talking about the digital cash, the UBIN project at the MAS and other central banks experimenting with this. Now, as we are matching the digital cash with digital assets, I think we are at the doorsteps of building a new financial ecosystem. Yesterday, my CEO, Ralph Hammers, just said, he sees nearly unlimited potential for digital assets and tokenization. And I certainly agree with him, not only because he's my CEO. Digital or tokenization asset can do many, many things. Change process, bare business parameters in the token that not only allows for process efficiency and cost efficiency, but serve many more purposes like reducing risk, provide accessibility and reach, help the governance and regulatory reporting requirements, or provide visibility over the use of investment proceeds in impact reporting, something which is very, very important in the sustainability space where, investors certainly want to act knowing that they are delivering impact. And in that regards, again, knowing what the money does, I think is very, very important. Yeah, I certainly think with my sustainability bank hat on, thinking that sustainability space, while developing quickly around the globe and being so data and impact dependent, is ideal for this technology. I think we need tracks for those to work, and I'm really excited to hear what we do here on the use cases on the panel and the projects Ben, you and I, we were working on over the last couple of weeks. I think access and reach, the internet doesn't have any boundaries, so access to rural areas, access to investment and finance, is something which Catherine going to talk more about it as well. Is driving her passion in this space. The impact on purpose, something which in this world becomes more and more important as global climate action initiatives are driven around the globe. Making sure one understands the impact and achieves with the money what the intention has been. Transparency, making therefore sure that the money does what it means, as I said earlier on. And certainly to the point of what Boon was saying, interoperability, connectivity, making sure that we are not fragmenting markets. I think this will be then the real test for this technology. But I'm very, very confident that we see this pretty soon, actually.
Wow. I mean, very encouraging to hear. And again, thank you for joining us in this panel. I know it's almost 3 a.m. there in London. Yeah, so thanks very much. Now over to you, Kathy. Again, thanks to you too, Kathy. I know there is a national holiday in the Philippines. So many thanks to our panelists for taking the time. So Kathy, as part of Union Bank, you have been at the forefront of many trailblazing projects over the last few years. I note that you have already created a stable coin at Union Bank. And besides that, just this year, I think you also so-called fractionalize the government treasury bonds through the blockchain-based platform to make it available for retail investors. So I believe experiences and perspective that you can share, Kathy.
Yeah, so as you've mentioned, the bank has embraced blockchain early. We've embarked on pilots and have worked on different applications, even going as far as having our own two-way Bitcoin ATM as our way to learn more about this technology and essentially hedge our future. So because we feel soon it will be a basic skill as DLT becomes the foundational tech infrastructure for the new world. So we believe that DLT, as Boone and Armin has alluded earlier, being a product of trust and a relationship efficiency enhancer, has powerful applications in the field of finance. So this plus the application of smart contracts will definitely challenge the current construct of financial markets. As we have briefly demonstrated yesterday, applying DLT in the bond issuance and settlement process and combining it with the power of smart contracts can result to significant benefits. So you have efficiency gains primarily driven by automation and disintermediation. You have transparency, faster and potentially more efficient clearing and settlement. It also democratizes investment by allowing for fractional ownership of assets, since costs will be lower for the issuers, which in turn could promote also more inclusive access by retail investors to previously unaffordable asset classes and previously reserved to large investors. However, we feel that to reap the most benefits from this, a natively digital settlement currency is necessary to allow for real-time delivery versus payment execution. So in our demo yesterday, we emphasized stablecoin as being a key enabler in our identified future state, one where all of the world's financial assets sit on a distributed digital ledger with all financial transactions sitting on the chain and happening real time and in a secure manner. So Union Bank has developed its own stablecoin, which we call PHX, with this feature in mind. It allows for transfer of value among its users with the goal of combining accuracy, transparency, and agility. So we believe that the application of DLT allows us to lower operational costs to facilitate payments, essentially removing unnecessary friction, eventually translating to low cost for the end investor or the end user, thereby making it a good tool for financial inclusion. In fact, our first use case for this was really aimed at this. So PHX was first implemented in the bank's I2I platform. I2I stands for island to island, institution to institution, or individual to individual. So it's a retail payment solution that connects more than 100 rural community banks across more than 7,000 islands in the Philippines with each other, and connecting them into the mainstream financial network using blockchain technology at its core. So essentially allowing us to provide banking solutions indirectly through this network to unbanked and underserved communities. So we've enabled these small banks the ability to perform more services at a faster speed and at a lower price point to serve customers that we can't logistically reach. We enable these banks who already know and understand their own communities, bringing a more personal homegrown touch. So for those who follow the Union Bank story, we also had cross-border payment use cases presented last year at this very event. We were able to test a transaction wherein PHX was used between OCBC and Singapore to Cantilan Bank and Surigao del Sur in the Philippines. So it was a great test to see the capabilities and potential of stablecoin to be used by the banking system in a broader scope. The Philippines has millions of workers abroad who need to remit their allotment back to their families. And at the same time, many OFW families also live outside major city centers. So we wanted to test the capability of a digital currency such as PHX to lower the cost or increase the speed for a cross-border remittance. And we do this because we feel that it is a solution worth seeking. We believe the same for the capital market. So imagine every Filipino having now the ability to access both local investments and participate in international issuances with just a swipe up or down and using their mobile phones. So that only becomes possible if the infrastructure is built in. And payments, of course, are a critical stage in this process. So we believe that the mass adoption of DLT as well as stable coins in the future can pave the way for a truly interconnected, secure, and real-time capital market.
Thanks. Truly inspirational, Kathy. So just now, for the benefit of all the other audience who are wondering what Kathy was talking about when it comes to the demo. So yesterday we did a demo of our platform where we had collaborations from the banks, okay, to showcase how we could use smart contracts and DLT technology. So actually, I would like to also share that this demo is in the next session. So in the upcoming panel, right after this session, don't go away. We have a add-on session where we will be showcasing once again the live demonstration of how we are integrated with the Ubin Payments Network and also the PHX stablecoin to be able to deliver payments for securities. Thank you. And truly inspirational. I like the name. I like the name Eye to Eye. It really makes me think that I also want to think of a name for our platform. It could be a you and me platform, maybe. So anyway, okay, enough of silly jokes. Let's now get into a Q&A session. So I have a first question to all three of you. Do you have any thoughts or hopes on how DLT implementation can be better executed to ensure maximum benefit? Boon, maybe you want to go first? Yep.
Okay, I'll go first, right? I'd like to say that, I also draw a lot of inspiration from Kathy and her team, and, Armin and his team as well in coming up with my answer. So, my hopes and wishes is that, first of all, to have different experts, because DLT implementation, right, will require both technology and business domain expertise. And within the technology and business domain, you can even split up into subdomains as well, right? So bring experts is really important from the start. Start with a real thing, start small, but remain ambitious, have imagination, and then have a roadmap. And I like to use this point Z, from Ram, from Kathy's team, right? Is there a point Z to work towards, right, imaginatively, right, as what our Army team have shared. So I take inspiration from this definition. Thank you.
Thank you. So thanks, Boon. I gather that we are no longer satisfied with point A or B and C, but we want to go straight into a future state point Z. Armin, what do you think?
I think very good comments from Boon, what he just sent, what he just said. Yeah, bring experts together, like we do today, actually, right? I think bringing experts together from a global reach, I think, is probably very important as well. Learn from each other, because listening to what Boon is saying and Catherine in particular is saying, the use cases are very different depending on where you are. The needs are different. Yeah. I think as we are moving into the implementation phase, it requires to work together exactly on those merits. We are in a transitional process that requires, to the point of what Boon is saying, the interconnectivity, cross-border, no fragmentation. I think all that is actually based on standards. A transitional topic of such global reach requires standards. And I think, this is something which I feel in technology as we try to become more digital in the global capital markets. Everyone talks about standards. Implementing standards is not easy. Agreeing on those, having a common language, maybe a common dictionary, is in my mind, the prerequisite to make this success, make it a global exercise. If we don't find these kind of standards, and I think SWIFT in that regards has been, has been showing us the way. I think these we need as well in a tokenized world going forward. So without standards, I think we will not succeed, and therefore that's probably for me my biggest wish.
Thanks, Armin. I totally echo with your perspective on standards. I also feel that, to add on to your point, with the use of DLT, we can also enforce the standards. And as you mentioned, use the standards and drive better impact reporting. Yep, great. And Kathy, what about you?
Yeah, so I think we're kind of aligned in that sense. Armin, Boon, even if we're coming from like different backgrounds, I think that in any implementation, to ensure maximum benefit, I think we should always design it with the customer in mind. For this one, we need to deeply engage and establish a feedback loop with both sides, so investors and issuers. You have to make sure that we engage the end users to understand their pain points and their needs, so that we incorporate them into solutions that we are providing and building. While at the same time, of course, as Boone has also mentioned, you have to still give yourself enough permission to dream and create, beyond what is currently possible to maximize the benefits of innovation. So my hope is that, of course, I not only get to see this revolutionary transformation happen, but also be able to actively participate in making it happen. And as Armin has also mentioned, I think collaboration is key. Problem is too big to be handled by just one institution. So we have to just work together, I guess, to make it happen.
Great, thanks. So I have always been heartened by the spirit of collaboration shown between us, especially not just today's panel, but of course in the weeks leading up to this. So let me turn to the audience now for questions. I actually gotten one question on my chat. Let me read it out now. Okay, it says, what are the innovations that your firm has done since the pandemic, and how has it addressed the current problems we are experiencing? So this person is specifically asking about innovation since the pandemic. So I guess this is an open question. Will any one of you like to take it?
If you don't mind, Ben, I can take this.
Yep,
quite interesting.
please.
What kind of innovation has happening? I think probably the innovation is in itself implementing it. That's one of the innovations, because I do feel, as I said at my earlier remarks, technology's always been ahead, always shown what's potential. I think the belief in it by people using it and implementing it, I think that often was actually the challenge. So I'm not quite sure how innovative one has been. I think it was much more that we suddenly implemented it, where beforehand there were probably resistance.
Cool.
Yeah, Ben, I would like to add to what Armin has said, right? That the pandemic and post-pandemic, what it has really forced, right, from a digital space is actually the adoption of digital signature, digital workflow, as well as digital documents. And by itself, it may sound really ordinary, but you can come up with a lot of different roadblocks when you say, "Oh, I like to use digital signature." Oh, which standard? So going back to the comment that which standard are you actually using? DocuSign, Acrobat, VeriSign, etc. And then is that accepted? So the one thing about the COVID that while it's a very unfortunate health crisis, right, but it has actually spurred a lot of digitization effort, and it has also deepened the focus on what it really means at the detailed level too. I think if you can consider that typically you won't look at this, then perhaps this could be an innovative angle. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe Ben, I can also add and share some of our the things that we've done during the pandemic. So actually, it has actually forced us all to embrace digital banking and create more innovative means for our customers to perform their banking needs. So for us during the pandemic, we actually implemented because we were on total lockdown. So we implemented various innovations for our customers through our mobile banking apps, such as mobile check deposits, cash deposits, through retail partners like 7-Eleven. So these are the stores around the corner, as well as enabled cash out through the different remittance counters partners nationwide. So I remember us doing this in a month's time, so that we can provide and support all our customers during those trying times. So also so that the customer has easier access to all of these services. And we've seen these innovations pay off. Daily digital accounts actually rose by more than 3,000 times year on year. And in July 2020, this actually hit almost 3 times as much relative to the level at last March. Even when our goal then was really just to help our customers and provide the service. So profit wasn't really our initial intention at that time. So we also launched the country's first e-commerce credit card in partnership with Lazada Philippines and MasterCard. So it introduced a new virtual card accessible through the Union Bank mobile app, which cardholders can use for online transactions without waiting for the physical card to be issued. So we had a pretty good pivot to make sure that we continue to remain relevant and to continue to be there for our customers. I think it was mentioned earlier also that a lot of these things actually are a result of us being already there, and investing already heavily in all of these digital applications that made it possible for us to quickly support and launch different products during this pandemic.
Thanks, Kathy. I totally agree with you. It's really fascinating from all three of your answers about how fast we have been able to move when it came to the pandemic. We were able to react, and I think that it has even helped us to see the immediate need, okay, and right in front of us, so that we were able to react and implement these various innovations. So over to the next question. So I have another question coming to me from the chats. Okay, so this is an inquisitive question. Okay, so did you have to convince upper management or shareholders of your firms to buy into digitization and blockchain? Or did the initiatives come from the top? Again, it's an open question. Please answer if you feel like it.
I'm happy to start again, Ben.
Okay.
I think we are interested and enthusiastic on this topic, yeah. And probably, as I said, technology always runs a little bit ahead of itself for commercial adoption. That means as well that not everyone is an enthusiast like ourselves here on the panel. So out of that, certainly, there were times where I was running into the office of my boss and said, we need to do this and that. And I got big round eyes rather than necessarily an understanding. So I think very much it is important to drag people along, your management along, get the buy-in. And I think probably just as a final comment, on the previous question, the pandemic has accelerated the understanding and created that desire that probably we had already beforehand, but now we are understood. So on that basis, I think every one of us had those moments where we need to convince, management.
Yeah, sorry, Ben, for us, luckily for the bank, our digital transformation journey was from the top down. So we've embarked on this journey 4 years ago and I guess from the president, it was digitize or perish. That was our mindset. Meaning we thought that we really think that if we don't do anything, we won't be around by 2030 if we were still paper-based. So and manual. So we had a two-pronged approach then. We digitized banking and the bank itself, and we started investing early to build capabilities for the future of financial service. So we really feel that it's not about technology. Actually, it's about people. And culture is not ready. If culture is not ready, it's not sustainable. So that's why our top management, headed by our then chairman, Justo Ortiz, and our president, Edwin Bautista, really led this cultural and mindset change, and at the same time ensured people that no one would get left behind in this transformation journey. So.
And just to round up from Deutsche Bank, it was both top down and bottom up. Our senior management are really exposed to all the different types of technology. In fact, they can ask, right, what does this mean? They constantly ask, what does this mean for us and for our clients and market? And then from the bottom up, we are connected by email. So, there are a number of interest groups that would surface and discuss and share, discoveries with senior management as well. So we started on this DLT and blockchain thing, I think, for over 5 years now. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, so let me just jump to the next question that I have. Oh, this question is actually addressed to Boon, but I'm sure that if Amin or Kathy has any comments, you can chime in too. So the question reads like this. Boon, you talk about point Z. What to you is point Z?
I'm going to turn over to Catherine because I think I understand point Z, but I would admit that point Z originate from Kathy and her team. So if I could, if Kathy don't mind, if I could turn over this question to you for the originator of point Z to answer.
Well, essentially, that's the perfect state of the world. Essentially, that's the ideal state that we're trying to build for this one. So I guess in terms of perspective, we all know that outside of our space, something is like happening. We've seen like decentralized finance starting to come up, and we feel that, you know, as bankers, we deserve a seat at that table in determining that future of financial markets. So that's why we're doing all of these things. So State Z is actually that state wherein, you know, people can just everything happens digitally. You can order, so everything seamlessly connected together. Imagine yourself like selling your car without doing all the hassle, all the manual steps of filling up the documents and giving them like a proof of your ownership, or I mean, talking to a registry to even give you that proof of your ownership. So everything just happens digitally with your digital identity. You have your stable coin, and you have all these financial services all digital.
Seems like for me, point C is the implementation, right? We all know that technology is able. We know what tokens can do, DLT to blockchain can do. At the same point in time, you know, we now have experiments as well with the cash side of things. Yeah, economy only works when asset and cash combines itself. So for me, point C is probably the combination of these two worlds come together in the implementation on a global basis.
Okay, okay. Anything to add, Boon?
Point C for the capital market, right? You know, well, you know, we are still drafting out. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. So from my perspective, definitely point Z, I do agree with both Armin and Kathy, as you mentioned, the future state. And in fact, I'm just going to remind everyone again, okay, so whatever that we have just talked about here today is really, truly very interesting. But to be even more, to give you even more excitement, we have actually prepared a second session shortly, starting at 11:30 at the same channel. Okay, but it will be a different session if you look at the Ubin activities calendar. We will start from 11:30 to have a live showcase of how we have integrated with the Ubin Payments Network. We will do a live demo shortly, okay, of the end-to-end bond life cycle. This is, of course, not yet point Z, but at least it shows a sign of how we could envision the future, considering that if one day we're going to plug this into the actual capital markets. So I do see that we are almost out of time. It's almost the last 4 minutes. Yes.
Sorry, I see hands raised by Wiki.
Yeah. I see Wiki's hands is up. So, but Wiki, can you? Oh, okay. All right. I thought he was going to ask a question. Yep. So anyway, I was also going to say that if any one of the audience or attendees have a question to ask, you could just type it in the chat function in this Teams channel. Yep. So I do not see any more questions, and we are really almost out of time. So just like to invite the guest speakers that we have, okay, Armin, Boon, and Kathy, if you have any last thoughts or comments for the session today.
Just to say, actually, you know, this global connectivity, all by today, it's a pandemic environment and we don't see each other, you know, in life. I think it has shown as well that you can bring expertise together. And I think this is what we need to embrace. So I hopefully, yeah, with our panel today and, you know, the showcases that we're going to run, the collaborative work that we have done over the many months in the past, I think it will bear fruits. As we heard from Catherine, you know, the fast implementation over the pandemic environment, I truly hope that we can, you know, get everyone on board, find those connectivity going forward to really make it work and get to the point of implementation.
Cool.
Then, you know, on my side, right, I think that we are at the start of a journey. Ben, to your point, right, that, you know, your demo is really really significant, but at the same time, from a macro perspective, it's a milestone in this journey leading towards bigger and greater things. This point Z that we have spoken. So looking forward to be continuing in this journey with everybody here and perhaps even more collaborators to understand and to see how we can create a new value in this digital future of the financial industry. And on this note as well, I'd like to wish everybody a great Singapore FinTech Festival.
Kathy, any comments or last thoughts?
Yeah, it's just that I'm just really grateful for this opportunity to come together all of us, I'm really excited for us to come to co-create solutions for the capital markets together.
Thank you. Thanks, Kathy. So I'll just round up. It's been a great pleasure. Every time we have a conversation, I always learn something. And same for today. I've taken down many notes myself. And this shows to your points that, a lot of collaboration could do a lot, to advance the industry together. So I'm really very heartened by the spirit of collaboration, not just between this group, but also within the entire Ubin channel, Ubin community. Many thanks to Wiki and the Project Ubin team for having us and also for bringing us into the larger community in general. So really looking forward to doing more things together and to increase our ecosystem to have more partners. So for now, okay, it's goodbye for now, but have a nice day ahead, have a nice week ahead, and we'll see you again shortly for our next session. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.